rules do not permit attendance. So with that, thank you very much, Lily. We have participants. I have all of you listed there. And with that, Tanvi, whenever you are ready and comfortable, please feel free to jump into our land acknowledgement this evening. And thank you so much for volunteering to host that.
Yeah, of course. Just to confirm, I'm reading out my own land acknowledgement, right? Like the one that I did?
Absolutely. And Nishida, for this one, I do have you listed for notes, but there likely won't be many notes for this particular section. And thank you very much, Tanvi. I will hand it off to you.
Thank you. So, just a heads up, the land acknowledgement is the first part is basically the one that Halton has itself, and then the second part is something that I've added on, more respective and more specific to us. So, Halton as we know it today is rich in the history and modern traditions of many First Nations and the Métis. From the lands of the Anishinaabe to the Attawandaron, the Haudenosaunee, and the Métis, these lands surrounding the Great Lakes are steeped in Indigenous history. As we gather today on these treaty lands, we are in solidarity with our Indigenous brothers and sisters to honor and respect the four directions, lands, waters, plants, animals, and ancestors that walked before us, and all of the wonderful elements of creation that exist. We acknowledge and thank the Mississaugas of the Credit First Nation for being stewards of this traditional territory. We recognize and deeply respect the Indigenous cultures and people and thank them for nurturing this land and providing us with plentiful experiences and opportunities such as this one. Thank you.
That was absolutely beautiful, Tanvi. I love land acknowledgements that kind of go on beyond the usual of the stating what is true and kind of actually giving us something to carry away with us. Thank you very much for bringing the four paths into it as well. And with that, perhaps Tanvi, you could facilitate our introduction section here. Starting with our young members, of course, if you are comfortable to introduce yourself by name to facilitate the building of these important connections. And if you'd like to share your thoughts on climate change, and then we'll move on to our esteemed guest participants.
Sure. So, hi, my name is Tanvi. I just did the land acknowledgement. You may know me from that. I am in grade 11, and I'm very passionate about the environment. I think it's really like this is where we live, so it's definitely important that we take care of it. And over the past few weeks, I've had this amazing opportunity to work with some other like-minded people and learn from Josh and Lily, and really deepen my knowledge about climate change. So I'm hoping that equips me better for taking action and encouraging others to take action too. So thank you for joining us.
Thank you very much, Candy. That was a lovely introduction. I love your points about our shared ecology. And as I was very grateful to share what I know, I look forward to learning from our guests. I like to comment on everybody's thing because everybody's special, but I feel like if I do that, we're going to be here all night. So maybe I will not. But with that, Nishida, would you please be able to take the names of our friends as they introduce themselves? And Tanvi, I will hand it back to you.
Sorry, pardon. Could you repeat that?
All good. Nishida, if you could please copy down the names of our friends who have already introduced themselves, that would be very helpful. And Tanvi, I will hand it off to you. If you'd like to ask for volunteers or simply go down the list of names that you see, that will be up to you.
Sure. I'll go by the list that I have. So would Afnan like to go?
And I do understand that some friends are having a little bit of trouble with microphones. So I usually like to give about 5 to 10 seconds for people to respond.
Sorry, I kind of cut out what she asked. I heard a little bit of my name though, so.
I was wondering if you wanted to introduce yourself.
Oh, hi. My name's Afnan. I'm in grade 10. I go to White Oak Secondary School. And the reason I joined this eco club is because I care a lot about the environment and I really want to help it out. And I found previous years and including now that whenever I join something like an eco program or eco-related thing, I feel really good because I'm helping the environment and I'm doing something that is actually helping the world for the better.
you very much, and hopefully we will have many follow-up items to look forward to.
Sorry. Would Amber like to go?
Yeah, for sure. So my name is Amber. I'm a grade 11 at Milton District High School, and I joined this team because I'm really passionate about the environment and advocating for climate change, more specifically ethical fashion. And so I just wanted to be able to learn from this team and maybe make a difference in our community.
Thank you so much for sharing, Amber. Hopefully, as you're so passionate about the environment, you will enjoy hearing from your friends and our guests. And with that, Tanvi.
Yeah. I'm going to now ask Angela if she'd like to introduce herself.
Hi, my name's Angela. I'm in grade 10 at Holy Trinity Secondary School, and I joined this group because I think it's really important to ensure sustainability in our environment because it's where we live and we should take care of it, and I think it's really important to promote that as well and encourage others to do it as well.
Thank you so much, Angela.
Thank you. Next, Ashley.
Hi, I'm Ashley. I'm currently a grade 12 student at Holy Trinity Secondary School, and I joined this group so I could educate myself more on climate change and also educate others on the subject because it's important more people know about the dangers of climate change and hopefully transition into a more sustainable lifestyle.
That was excellent, Ashley. Thank you.
Kat, would you like to go?
Yeah, so hi, I'm a grade 11 IB student at White Oak Secondary School, and I joined this volunteering opportunity essentially because I really like the environment and I'm really passionate about environmental science, more specifically like marine science, but you know, we live in Canada, so like just studying the environment in general is my best way to go. And so yeah, I'm really excited.
That is excellent to hear, Katerina. And Canada is a pretty good country for people concerned about marine ecology, as we do border 3 oceans. Thank you, Kat.
Thank you. Ethan, would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. So hello, everyone. My name's Ethan. I'm a grade 10 student at Dr. Frank J. Heaton Secondary School. And I joined this program to learn more about the environment and to better contribute to my community. I'm a member of my school's Eco Club, so I wanted to take the information that I've learned from Josh and Lily and apply it to my school's Eco Club. So it's been a really fun program.
Thank you, Ethan. Hopefully we've given you quite a bit to talk about, and hopefully even more after our meeting with so many lovely guests. Thank you very much, Ethan.
Thank you. Casey, would you like to introduce yourself now?
Yes, of course. Hi, my name is Casey, and I'm a grade 11 student at Milton District High School. I joined the Environment series because I'm interested in climate change like the rest of the team, and I want to learn more about sustainable practices.
Thank you so much, Casey.
Thank you. I'm pretty sure that in the past meetings, there's a person who's joined as Leon's iPhone, but they weren't actually Leon. So whoever you are, would you like to go and introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Leanne. I'm in grade 8, and I joined this group because I like to help people, and I like to support the community and make a change.
Thank you very much, Leon. That is lovely. I think, yeah, no, thank you so much for sharing, and I cannot wait to see where you will go.
Yeah. Nimra, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yeah, hi everyone. I'm in grade 10. My name is Nimra. I'm in grade 10. I go to Dr. Frank J. Hayden. And I joined this club because I wanted to feel like I'm making a change in my community.
Thank you very much for sharing, Nimra. Hopefully there will be a few interesting opportunities to talk about after the meeting, both for Lily and I, and perhaps our esteemed guests.
And now, I think lastly, Nishita, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yep, my name is Nishita, and I'm a grade 10 student at Holy Trinity Secondary School. And I joined this club because I'm passionate of making a change and contributing to the environment and helping the economy grow.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Nishita. I will quickly note down your name. And thank you so much for keeping up with our notes too. Perhaps this will lead us into introductions from our guests. And Tanvi, if you'd like to go in the order of names that you see on your screen, perhaps we could do that. Once again, thank you so much for coming to tell us a little bit about yourselves and your organizations. And this will be an excellent opportunity to briefly introduce both yourself and those organizations. So with that, Tanvi, I will hand it off to you.
Okay, so let's start with a YMCA of Oakville. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Oh, sure. Sorry. Oh, no, I'm not on mute. Okay. My name is Teresa Rinaldi, and I manage community initiatives.
Thank you so much, Teresa.
Next we have, Andrea.
And really quickly, I'm so sorry to jump in. Nishita, could you please make sure that we get down Teresa's name and her role as managing community initiatives? Thank you so much.
I'll ask again. Sorry. Sorry, my throat's been a bit weird today. So, Andrea, would you like to go and introduce yourself?
Sorry, my internet's very spotty. Hi, my name is Andrea. My pronouns are she, her. I come from town.
Oh dear, I seem to be experiencing a little bit of an audio lag. I think you may have cut out after Town of Milton.
Okay, well, just really excited to be here. That's what I wanted to tell everyone, so thank you for having me.
Thank you so much, Andrea. And perhaps we could also note down Town of Milton in the notes. It's okay. Wi-Fi has been a thing for everybody today, myself included. This virtual background is probably not doing me any favors, if I'm being entirely truthful. But with that, Tanvi, you have been killing it as our facilitator to kick things off. So with that, I will hand it off to you. And also thank Teresa and Andrea for their introductions.
Thank you. I've taken a sip of water, so hopefully no more glitches from here on out. But now we have Michelle from Sustainable Milton. Would you like to introduce yourself?
Sure. Can you guys hear me?
Crystal clear.
Perfect. Awesome. My name is Michelle. I'm with Sustainable Milton, based here in Milton, and I'm really happy to be invited. I do want to give a brief background on myself because I heard something really interesting. For the past 10 years, I lived and worked in the Arctic for the Inuit, especially looking at the marine environment. So if you guys ever want to know more about what we're doing up there in terms of climate change and that kind of perspective, please reach out to me on a personal level. But on the level that I'm here representing Sustainable Milton today, we're doing a bunch of initiatives here in Milton, and we'd love to connect with you guys more. We're also hoping to organize a youth town hall sometime, hopefully tentatively scheduled for March. So we'd love to kind of connect with you guys beforehand and see if you're interested in being part of that process. So thank you for having us today. I really appreciate that.
Thank you very much for sharing, Michelle. There will certainly be opportunities for all of our young friends and all of our community guests and their host organizations to kind of connect after the main content of our meeting, which I hope will and think will spark some excellent community involvement. So with that, I believe we have our last but far from least.
Yeah. Katrine, would you like to introduce yourself?
Yes. Hi. You guys hear me okay too?
Perfect.
Yeah. Awesome. My name is Katrine, and I'm with the Halton Environmental Network. I did a Master's of Environmental Science at University of Toronto. I've been working with HEN now for 3 years. Yep, HEN or Halton Environmental Network, we work all over Halton doing lots of really cool stuff with lots of different cool programs. One in particular is our Generation Green program that we did last year, which is a really big conference where we gathered students from all over Halton to talk about climate action. So I'll talk a little bit more about that later on, but yeah, happy to be here.
Thank you so much. We are happy to have you and so many other wonderful guests. Thank you for that introduction. Now we are going to be moving into our pledges here. And I do apologize, there is a little bit of a blank section. Ashley, so the main goal of facilitating here will be to run down the list of our young friends, get everybody's voice in, and also open up an opportunity at the end of this segment for any comments. And as long as you, Casey, are ready as our note taker, I will hand it off to you, Ashley.
Yep, I'm ready.
Okay, so next we're going to ask all of our participants to share their personal climate change pledges one by one. And first on my list, I have Afnan. So would you like to go next? Okay, would Amber like to go next?
I just wrote it down and I didn't bring it up. Okay. So I pledge to reduce my carbon footprint by switching completely to slow fashion. So this includes limiting any shopping for clothes that I might do and only purchasing items that I know will last me a long time. This also includes purchasing clothing secondhand, vintage, and from stores that produce their clothing ethically and with eco-friendly fabrics. I will also be focusing my time on making my own clothing, as sewing and designing are both things that I genuinely enjoy doing, and in this way I am taking care of both my mental health and the earth.
Those are absolutely excellent points, Amber. Thank you so much. It is always good to purchase products minimally when you can, and when you do, ones that will last. And I see Afnan in the chat saying that his internet is ready. That seems to have been a theme for almost everybody here, myself absolutely included. So Afnan, when you are ready.
Okay, so I plan to reduce my carbon footprint by, I always walk. So if I ever have to go to school or something, I'll always walk. I don't ever take the car unless it's 100% necessary. Whenever we have to and and then we also, like, I always make sure that whenever I have garbage, I recycle that correctly, because sometimes people forget that things don't go in the recycling bin when they should, or sometimes things should go in the recycling bin when they don't. So I make sure to do that correctly. I also uh I also take shorter showers. So I try to keep my showers like really short, like 5 minutes, so that I don't waste too much time with the water. So I know that isn't all related to carbon footprint, but these are all different things I do to kind of keep my, I guess, impact on the Earth's resources to a minimum.
Those are excellent points, Efnan. Indeed, the last one as well. Many of the effects of climate change, it is not the only thing that we are currently doing to the Earth. So it is great to cut back in ways that are perhaps not as carbon intensive as well. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Okay, next on the list, we have Angela. So would you like to go?
To lower my carbon footprint, I pledge to use energy wisely and be more green in my ways of traveling. Canada is one of the highest energy consumers in the world, so if everybody begins using less and less every day, a visible change would occur. And my house is already pretty energy efficient, like we have all the appliances with Energy Star in them. But outside of that, I make sure to unplug electronic devices and make sure not to leave any lights on. And speaking on the means of energy efficient traveling, I try to walk and bike places instead of driving when my destination is a reasonable distance away. And if driving is necessary or it's quite a distance, I make sure to carpool as much as possible with people that have the same destination in mind.
Thank you so much, Angela. Excellent points about energy efficiency, travel, and carpooling when walking is perhaps not an option. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Ashley.
Okay, next is me. I plan on addressing climate change by using reusable cups and mugs rather than plastics, slowly transitioning to renewable energy, unplugging idle electronics, and buying organic and local food as much as possible, and only consuming food that's been ethically produced, and reducing food wastage.
Those are all excellent commitments. Thank you so much for sharing, Ashley. Indeed, agriculture and the food that we consume is one of the largest sources of carbon and other associated environmental ills.
Okay, next is Ekaterina.
So the first thing that I would like pledge to do is just, and you know how people say that like in order to be eco-friendly, you need to have all of these products. Well, one thing that I will do is or use what I already have instead of buying things that are considered eco-friendly. So that will just ensure that everything I have is, you know, going to like not be wasted. The next thing is buying local, organic, and things with minimal packaging wherever possible, because packaging tends to be one of the greatest pollutants, like that's like in our landfills. And so buying whatever I can that has the less amount of packaging possible, or at least even like recyclable packaging, I think that's a great idea. And also keeping a healthy diet, so a diet that's healthy for myself and for the planet, of course. So that would be buying organic foods, buying food from the farmers market, which is like local, and yeah, foods that have less packaging essentially.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Ekaterina. So great point about when ecologically friendly items, that is still some carbon contribution to the environment. Those are still materials being used, and those are still potential sources of pollution. So it is absolutely best to not buy when possible. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Ashley.
Next is Ethan.
Yeah, sure. So through implementing the concept of aminonymization, I pledge to shift my perspective towards the environment. So after learning and reflecting about the concept of aminonymization, which applies to all humans and living things, I felt inspired to make a change regarding how we perceive the environment. Considering the connection that the natural law has with achieving aminonymization, I hope to make strides in the right direction by supporting our environment through methods like limiting the use of single-use plastics, using a refillable water bottle, considering insects as living things rather than pets. And all of these will help my perspective in shifting my perspective towards the environment.
Thank you very much, Ethan, and thank you so much for bringing in Indigenous ways of knowing, namely Mino Namadjuan. As an Indigenous person, that is great to see. And thank you very much for our note taker, Casey, who was able to kind of get that very juicy term in there on the fly, which I don't know if I would have been able to do. So excellent work, Casey. And I'll hand it back to you, Ashley.
Next on the list is Casey.
Okay, so after attending weekly The Time Is Now meetings, I've gained a deeper knowledge and understanding of climate change and Indigenous sustainable practices. So with this in mind, I plan to shop from sustainably sourced clothing stores from now on, and I want to also try to purchase less plastic products and also shop organically and locally for groceries and stuff. And I also want to be more mindful about my overall carbon footprint. And something that my family has done in the past that I want to do more of is having like our own like vegetable or like fruit gardens at home. So I want to do that more because it's more sustainable. And also when I do get my driver's license and I'm old enough to purchase my own car, I want to consider buying an electric car because we discussed in the meetings that it's a better way to be sustainable since cars contribute a lot to climate change. And also, like Ethan said, I also want to apply Mino in Zawin, and I want to try my best to apply it and just to like live well, like they said in my life. And also, when I was reading the articles that were sent to us, I also signed the petition from Urge Ottawa to support a green recovery petition. And I also want to find more petitions to sign like that. Sorry, that was a lot.
Those are all excellent points, Casey. And I am so glad that you all have put such a great amount of thought into all of these. And I see that we do still have a few friends yet to share their commitments. So thank you so much, Casey. I'm also going to look into an electric car. Important to consider where the electricity is being generated, but Ontario is relatively green, although we could always do better. And with that, I'll hand it back to you, Ashley.
Okay, next is Layan.
Hi. So, to say, in my opinion, um, we could like, for example, if the areas like we're going to is not that far, we can use like, bicycles or like, any other things than cars, because cars produce, like, gases that are bad for the environment. We could also like, when going to the store, we can also use, instead of plastic bags, we can use cloth bags, which would be more sustainable also for the environment. Um, Moreover, like, trying to not waste like, clean water, because, let's say it rained the same day, we don't need to go and water the plants the same day, or at least like, water them like a bit, instead of like using all those, machines that can just, work all the time and just produce a lot of water. So yeah, that's all.
Thank you so much, Len. And that is a great point about biking instead of driving. Oftentimes, when a place isn't far enough to walk, like for example, my university, biking does make that easier without having to bring in a car, which is much more resource intensive. So with that, I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Next is Nimra.
Hi. My goal and my pledge is to take small, continuous actions that will, and realistic actions that will help make the biggest change in my life and in the environment. So personally, I remember doing the community cleanup with Lily, and it was such a small group, but I felt really accomplished. And we picked up so much garbage and litter with only about like 5 people. So a goal I'd like to set for myself is to organize my own community cleanup and involve people from my school and other schools and target it towards a larger audience to make a bigger impact.
Thank you so much for sharing, Nimra. And I believe we only have one or two friends remaining. So I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Yeah, we have two more. Next is Nishida.
So some things that I'm personally guilty of doing include leaving on the lights throughout my house and taking super long showers and getting my parents to drive me everywhere. And these actions that I commit contribute to the threat of climate change as they increase emissions of fossil fuels into the atmosphere. And some actions that I can take to reduce my emissions include turning off the lights in rooms that I'm not using at the time to to conserve electricity and to take shorter showers to conserve energy, and even walk or bike to places more often rather than getting my parents to drive me everywhere to reduce my carbon dioxide emissions. And these actions are various steps that I can take to reduce my ecological footprint, which can result in a positive change to combat climate change.
Thank you so much, Nishida. It is great to see you introspecting into your own life and seeing ways that you could live more sustainably. That is always an excellent thing to see. And saving the best for last, as I always like to say. Ashley, I will hand it off to you.
Last but not least is Tanvi.
Thank you. So my pledge is basically to focus more on the concept of Mino Namo Zawin and apply that to my life as best as I can. And so really just be more mindful of the world around me and myself included. So for example, this would be just, taking some time off to relax and maybe go for a walk out on a trail, and really like actively trying to identify nature using, for example, like Google Lens or some nature identifying apps to learn more about what's around me. Or even using some of the stuff I learned in biology and trying to point that out in the real world when I'm going out for a walk. Yeah, that's basically my main focus for my pledge.
Thank you so much for sharing, Candy. I actually found that learning a little bit more about the ecology that I live in locally helped me gain kind of a better appreciation of our current environmental situation. At first, it was a little bit of a burden. I had to go do that for one of my classes, but it turned into something very fun. I was going to open this up for our adult guests, but I'm very cognizant of the time and your very, very busy schedules. Our next section, also facilitated by Ashley with notes by Casey, no switch ups there, will be mostly focused around our young leaders providing a few climate-oriented calls to action. And one thing that will be interesting for me is that as many of you are already activists and are part of organizations that have already made climate progress, I'm kind of curious to see which ones of these you all may have already taken up. So feel free to throw in like an emoji or something fun like that if we mention something that you're already doing to keep things lively. And also for these next few segments, if I do have to cut you short, that would only be for time. I'll be keeping like a little stopwatch on my phone to ensure maximum fairness. So with that, Ashley, I will hand it off to you. You've been doing a great job as our second facilitator, and likewise, Casey, keeping up with our notes. So when you two are both ready, you can jump into the first person that you are seeing on your screen.
Okay, so next, each of our participants will be sharing their calls to actions. So first on the list, we have Afnan.
Okay, good. Can you hear me?
Perfectly.
Okay, so my call to action, like the wording for that is pretty simple. It's fight for climate change and the environment. And the reason, and in my call to action, in the writing that I submitted, I basically talk about how helping the environment has helped me grow as a person, and how it has not only helped me and others, but it's also helped the environment. And I talk about how, like, even though like you can be small, even if your impact is small, even if what you're doing doesn't seem like that big of a difference in the greater scheme of things, when so many other people do it, and when you join eco clubs and participate in these types of events, then it accumulates, it gets bigger. So that's my call to action.
That is an excellent point, Efron, and you actually ran like right to the end of my timer, so really good pacing there too. Fighting for climate change in the environment, I very much look forward to hearing from some of our guests what they are up to there, because I suspect that this is something they're very cognizant of. But thank you very much, Efron, for bringing that up. Excellent points. And back to you, Ashley.
Okay, next is Amber.
So my call to action is individuals and groups need to work together to make the switch from fast fashion to slow fashion on a larger scale. Of course, individual change is still change, but when we all work together, it makes a bigger difference. And with climate change, we all definitely need to do our part. And so part of that would be organizations and clothing companies focusing on becoming more ethical themselves. So that could include being more transparent about where they are manufacturing their clothes, how they're producing their clothes, what kind of fabrics and materials are being used, and also being transparent about what happens with clothing that doesn't sell.
Thank you very much, Amber. I'm going to have to cut you short for time. Great points about clothing, but this would also apply to, I suppose, just about any item in many offices. So if there is any way that you are able to keep track of where your items are coming from, that would be a great way to be cognizant of the impact, at least the transportation of those items is coming from. And with that, I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Next on the list is Angela.
So for my call to action is to still maintain with the standard 3 R's, reduce, reuse, and recycle, but also to include 3 more R's, such as remove, refuse, and rally. Remove being taking part in garbage cleanups to rid the environment of litter that has been dropped or deposited. Refuse being refuse to use plastic bags or straws at restaurants and grocery stores to lower the amount of plastic use. And rally to spread the word about climate change.
Those are excellent, and that was remove, refuse, and rally. I love those 3 additional R's. I'm going to put that in the chat so that is immortalized, also in our notes here, of course. Thank you, Angela. That was excellent. I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Okay, next on the list is me. So some calls to actions that I created for our community leaders is to work collaboratively with all governments to accelerate effective climate solutions, help low and moderate income Canadians transition to clean energy, and create digital resources to spread awareness and help educate others.
Thank you very much, Ashley. Collaborative working is especially important. When we're reduced to our own resources, the difference that we can make is minimal. But when we come together, we can really start to put pressure on our community leaders, and we can really start to see some very special things. So thank you so much for sharing, Ashley. And with that, I will hand it back to you.
Next is Kat.
I have a few, but I'm just going to mention one for the sake of time. We should prioritize the environment over aesthetics. So like many restaurants would use extra food for decoration, such as like lemons. And like I've noticed this because I work at a restaurant, and so a lot of lemons are actually wasted, which is really unfortunate. And another thing related to restaurants is that I think that they should limit the packaging that they put, and trying to instead of using plastic that's like non-reusable or non-recyclable, going for more cardboard things that has like some sort of a lining that could be maybe removed. I think that even though that lining could not be recycled, I think it's still less plastic and waste diverted to landfills. So that's my call to action.
That was excellent, Kat. And I so far have not had to cut anybody off for time, and you're like all pacing it perfectly. Thank you very much, Kat, for talking about the importance of prioritizing the environment over aesthetics. And also Ashley for jumping in the chat while I was timing. With that, I see that Ethan's name is there, so perhaps he could jump into it, if he is comfortable, of course.
Sure. So my call to action is to greater emphasize Lake Ontario and how it needs to be cleaned up. It's one of the more polluted Great Lakes. So I think by organizing some sort of water cleanup of some sorts, because I know many factories and businesses dump a lot of chemicals, even our own government dumps, municipal government, Toronto and such have dumped sewage into Lake Ontario. So moving towards maybe not dumping it into Lake Ontario, but moving forward to a more sustainable option and a cleaner and safer way for the ecosystem to thrive.
Very excellent points, Ethan. I like how yours was kind of specifically tailored to the area that we are all currently sharing with your points about Lake Ontario. And with that, perhaps Ashley, you could jump right back into it.
Thank you. Next on the list is Casey.
So mine, I was looking at the list on the website, and one of the options that they said is to transition to zero carbon transportation systems with an emphasis on active transportation. So I think we can like advertise in our town to bike more or just like carpool more, and also with the Milton buses, we can try to keep them zero carbon. To use zero carbon, sorry.
Those are excellent points, Casey, and I kind of like framing it as like an active transit thing. That's well a very actiony word. So I will get that there. And perhaps with that, Ashley, you can jump into our next friend here.
Next is Lan.
Hi. So my call to action is to be more sustainable with like everything in our community, and to just clean up our community and like just keep it clean, and so for everyone's health, because this can also affect people's health. So also we need to just keep our community clean and safe. So yeah.
Thank you very much, Leon. And absolutely, if you are able to do so safely and you see something on the ground, it is a great small way to help to pick it up. Or if you are able to, especially to organize some more collective action to clean up, say, an environmentally protected park and that kind of thing. Excellent points, Leon. I will hand it back to you, Ashley.
Next is Nimra.
My call to action is to place more pressure and emphasize the importance of like bigger companies and like what actions they can take, because I know that personally we can make smaller changes in our lives, and of course that's gonna impact the environment and make some sort of change, but the majority of it is because of fast fashion companies and like for example H&M or Zara. And also like we need to hold them accountable for some of the actions they take.
Thank you so much, Nimra. Excellent points about accountability for the larger corporations that are statistically responsible for most of the environmental harm that we see. And with that, perhaps Ashley, I will hand it back to you.
The next person on the list is Nishida.
A call to action that I believe Halton's community leaders can participate in is a garbage pickup at a local park here in Halton. And this is an easy task that we students can accomplish. It has a positive impact towards our environment as we reduce pollution. And to participate in this action during COVID-19, special precautions would need to be taken, which include wearing masks, social distancing, and wearing gloves.
Excellent points, Nishida. Very relevant to our current times. And with that, community guests, we are finally ready for you to get into the vegan meat and potatoes of things. As long as you are ready, Casey, and as long
Oh,
as you are
actually,
ready.
I think there's one more person.
Oh, I'm so
Tanvi.
sorry.
Yeah.
I'm so sorry, Tanvi.
No worries. My call to action is a bit more focused on youth. So for Halton's community leaders and just really any leaders in the world, I call upon them to continue to support youth working to resolve important issues like climate change. And this would entail really what you're doing right now by attending this session. So thank you for coming out to support us and the world, really.
Thank you very much, Camden. It is very important to recognize that these meetings are less so a one-off thing and more so part of a continual process of environmental involvement, which is sure something that many of our guests are well familiar with. So with that, Casey, if you would like to, through the list of names you see, and I will be giving quite a bit more time for our guests than for these pledges or calls to action, which were also very important. If you're ready to facilitate, Casey, and if Angela, you are ready on the note-taking end of things, I think that we could jump into it.
Yeah, okay. So now we will be talking about how the community leaders are sharing current practices. So now is the community leaders' chance to show our team what you guys have been working on. So I'll be going down the list and asking you guys one by one what you've been working on. So first on my list, I have Andrea.
Yes, thank you. So at the town of Milton, I also work with the Milton Youth Task Force, which also has environmental youth group. So we are very much in line with what a lot of you folks are saying here and are organizing some events for the near future. So something that we can currently do is obviously keep you folks in the loop too, because maybe it'd be more advantageous to have environmentally minded youth come together and in order to use our networks to our advantage. So that's one thing that we're working on, youth focused. And then something that as a corporation, the town of Milton is working on is aligning themselves with the Green Energy Act. And so that means looking at the corporation's energy plan and also looking at community engagement overall. So I know presently We Make Milton, which is the next 30 years planning for the town. They've been seeking a lot of outreach from community members, and I've sat in on sessions, and a lot of those environmental pieces keep coming up. So I do know the town and those environmental and just urban planners in general are using all of that feedback and creating the next new wave of policy to include more environmental aspects to it. So that's what's currently going on.
Thank you so much for sharing that, Andrea. I really like hearing about your youth group that you are empowering, and also how the town of Milton is currently collaborating to create clean energy initiatives. I very much look forward to seeing what connections come of today, and also how those continue to progress into our future. But with that, Ashley, so I'm so sorry, Casey. I promise I know people's names. I swear. I study these. I know it. I swear I know what I'm talking about. Jokes aside. Casey, I'll hand it back to you for our next esteemed guest.
No worries. Okay, so next on our list we have Teresa. If you would like to share.
Hi, everyone. I'm just going to keep my video off. My internet is quite sensitive today. And from the YMCA's perspective, a lot of our federation really focuses its attention on youth. So from a national level, there's been quite a few youth meetings focusing on climate change, youth voice, really promoting activism. And how that drills down to a localized effort is a number of our own internal youth groups, for Young Leaders Initiative, etc., forged a climate action I guess, proposal where they have the opportunity to obtain some funding through YMCA Canada to activate their climate change initiative. So YMCA Canada and the YMCA World Alliance also held Climate Change Summit for youth around the globe to come together to talk about issues that matter the most to them. So YMCAs are spread across the world and national and local, so there's quite leverage in terms of movement to address climate change and climate action and inspire youth to get involved and take action. From a building perspective, we have been working with leaders to take a look at our internal mechanical infrastructure to see where we can reduce energy footprint. So we've changed all of our lighting system over. We're looking at efficiencies through heat, etc. So we've done a lot of modifications over the years. Our building wasn't built to be a green building, but we're striving to make it as green as possible where we can. We have also digitalized a lot of our internal systems. So we are now paperless as well. So, you know, fortunately for COVID, that was the one plus side from a systems perspective where it really forced us to you know, speed up that plan, and we are now completely paperless. So there's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of activation, but I totally dropped my thought now, sorry.
All good. Thank you so much,
I think you get the idea.
I do. I really like your points, especially about the YMCA leveraging their international connections to build a larger movement, modernizing a building that was not really built to be green. It's great to recognize our history and what we can do with that. So with that, Casey, not Ashley, Casey, I will hand it back to you. And thank you, Angela, for doing such a great job of keeping track of these notes.
Thank you, Teresa, for sharing. And now on our list, we have Michelle, if you'd like to share.
Hi. First of all, I'm really encouraged by all the actions that you guys are already taking and all the actions that you kind of want to see from your community leaders. I don't mean this in anything but, you know, a hopeful tone, because I understand how difficult it is sometimes to kind of put those actions, implement those actions. So I really appreciate that. What we've been doing in Sustainable Milton is what we first started out was we started organizing cleanups. So that was one of the first acts we took. And we, here in Milton, we have this Good Neighbors cleanup that happens every, I think, March or April. And this year, due to the current circumstances, it was canceled. So we partnered up with the Halton Environmental Network to undertake pop-up cleanups, where we went to the town of Milton and asked their parking rec department to identify areas that were potentially of interest to them in terms of cleanup. We went into these areas. We got volunteers together, obviously, to come out and participate with us at these cleanups. And what we did was not only did we collect trash or, you know, plastics and all this stuff, we also took these data collection sheets with us where we tabulated every piece of trash we collected and kind of organized it to see trends. And then we passed that information on to the Halton Environmental Network, who kind of put it together and tabulated for us to be part of their analysis for, where all this, how waste is being produced and how it's being, disseminated into the environment. So we've been doing that for, I think we've organized up to like 6 cleanups since our inception. And we started, our organization was originally kind of founded at the end of January of this year. So 2020 is when we started. January 2020 is when we started. And we've been doing our cleanup since then and trying to get this off the ground. We also, we've been doing is delegating, which is going up to council meetings of our local town of Milton here, and also to our regional council meetings as well, and delegating on behalf of actions that we think need to be prioritized for Milton here. So Milton declared a climate emergency on July 22nd in 2019, and since then we've been kind of making sure that they've been addressing those targets that they themselves set, and implementing them in a meaningful way. So this means also that we've been a part of their land use, looking at their land use planning process. I'm sure all of you guys are familiar with what land use planning is, but if you aren't, I myself, by profession, I'm a land use planner. I work more on the environmental side, but essentially what we've been doing is looking at these plans that the town of Milton and also the region of Halton has developed for our area. And these plans are forecasting for about 30 to 50 years, 20 to 30 years in the future, and essentially showing how people would live, work, and play, I guess.
Thank you so much, Michelle. I'm so sorry to cut you off for time. I really do like your points about adapting to the COVID pandemic and organizing so many, despite our circumstances, pop-up cleanups, which I think are equally effective to the other kind of more formal one, and also delegating with our local representatives, who oftentimes really all you need to do to get them on board is talk to them consistently. And also the importance of collecting good data, which we can then use to map out land use patterns well into the future. And I will have something at the end of the meeting to announce for people who are looking for further conversation, as we have eaten into our dialogue period. So with that, thank you very much, Michelle. And with our last, but again, certainly not least guest, I will hand it back to you, Casey.
So thank you for sharing, Michelle. And last but finally not least, like Josh says, we have Katrine, if you would like to share.
Yeah, thank you guys. So the Halton Environmental Network, as I mentioned before, just briefly and before, we're a nonprofit organization. So we operate all over Halton. We do a lot of different things. So it's hard to break it down, but I'll give it my best go. We've implemented a lot of really successful programs from Halton Food Program, which does a lot of gardening, especially over the summer. They were giving little gift packets of food to people who needed it, all socially distant sort of initiatives, planting gardens in faith communities in partnership with another one of our programs called Green and Sacred Spaces, which really connects people of faith to the climate and to really get them active and involved in climate action. There's a lot of great connection between faith and the environment, so putting those connections and just getting everybody involved. HEN, what our real sort of aim is to meet people where they are. So wherever they are, if they like film, we do a lot of film screenings. We recently did one with the 2040 film. We're partnering with Burlington Green. We're showing I Am Greta I think literally this Thursday, if you're interested. And we have much more things coming up. Our big youth project, which you may or may not have heard about, is our Generation Green. So our Generation Green program is it's really working really well to inspire, take Halton youth and just give them the tools they need to run with whatever they need to do. Similar to how all you guys have your statements, we're challenging you to reduce your greenhouse gas emissions by something as simple as, I'm not going to use my hairdryer to hair dry my hair or something like that. Or, I'm going to turn off my lights at certain times during the day instead of just leaving them on, or things like that. There's lots of really, really small actions you can do to have really, really big impact. So yeah, so you can check out our website. I'll put it into the chat as well because I don't want to take up too much time. Or you can email me as well, and we can go through all the different things and ways to get involved, or how we can all work together to push through your interests. If you're interested in cleanups, as mentioned, yeah, we do those in the summer. If you're interested in reducing food waste, we did a huge survey about that. So yeah, we're here to chat and we're here to help.
Thank you so much, Christine, for sharing. I love your energy, and I really do like your point about bringing spirituality into environmentalism with creating sacred spaces. Many, the vast majority of, in their own distinct way, Indigenous groups have had their shared ecology or our shared ecology as a very core tenet of our society, of who we are and how we live our lives. It became a very spiritual connection, and I believe that is one of the reasons why Indigenous people, despite making up 5% of the population, account for 80% of all protected land. So I think that that is an excellent initiative. And I see that there are so many initiatives that all of you are working on that I think, quite frankly, are excellent. Whether it be Andrea using the town of Milton and as a corporation, aligning themselves with green energy plans, Teresa leveraging wide YMCA global networks, Michelle's many cleanup initiatives, and Katrine's Generation Green program, among many more. I only mentioned one for each. I am truly astonished with the level of detail that our young people put into the pledges and calls to action, but at the same time, not too surprised. And also for the absolutely wonderful information that Katrine, Andrea, Teresa, and Michelle were able to put into those short presentations. I am hoping that this will only be the start of an ongoing dialogue. So before we do our thank you selfie and kind of all head out for tonight, because I'm sure we're all very busy protecting the environment and whatnot, I was wondering, especially with our adult allies, because I've discussed this with our team, would you be interested in being part of a sustainability group chat on Instagram? This would essentially be a hub. Many of our Halton Youth Initiative folks would be in this group chat, and it would be a great way for you to continue these dialogues and kind of continue to reach out to our team about all of the initiatives that we've discussed. Again, somebody mentioned reaching people where they're at. Social media is where a lot of us are spending our time. Our phones are always in our pockets. Email is great too, as are websites. But I would always like to invite you to this sustainability group chat. And indeed, there will be more information coming up soon in follow-up emails and or posts. So do stay tuned for that. And I'm seeing a few smiles and for sure's in chat. So this is absolutely lovely to see. I can't wait to see what comes of this. But with that, if you are comfortable, might I love the background, Lily? Might I ask, it gives you ears too, that's great. Might I ask if everybody who is comfortable taking their camera out and turning their video on, if we could do a group selfie. So we'll give everybody a few moments to kind of do that. And I'm seeing so many lovely faces here. This is great to see. If you do have a photo of yourself, that is also excellent. I think that's the route that Kat is taking, which is 100% valid. But with that, it would be super helpful for us to see all of your lovely faces. And if you are worried about people judging you, do not. Instagram compresses the quality like a lot, and the faces are already small, so no one's going to be looking at that stuff. Don't worry about it. But as long as you are comfortable, we would love to see all of your faces there. And this is my way of stretching this out until we have at least 2 rows of people to post. So with that, Lily, you want to come up with a word on the spot for us all to say and smile?
Sustainability.
All right, sustainability. On the count of 3, and anybody who hasn't turned their camera on and would be interested in doing so, that would help us out greatly. Thank you so much, Casey, Katrine, Lily, Andrea, Teresa, Nishida, Nimra, Michelle, Katrine, I think I said Katrine twice, Angela, and everybody. All right, so with that, I just wanted to give everybody time to sort out any technical difficulties. I am seeing that most people have turned their camera on. This is so great to see. I'm glad I waited. I almost didn't. This is excellent. Okay, so 1 minute after the meeting was supposed to end. 3, 2, 1. Sustainability.
Great. I did print screen.
I also took a few screenshots, both with and without the Zoom interface. Thank you all so much for joining us today. I understand that everybody is likely very busy. So if you do have to take off after perhaps any final thoughts that Lily might have or that I might have.
I'm just so grateful for everybody for coming. Thank you to our guests. Thank you all for being part of the Time Is Now series. What an awesome 4 crazy weeks it's been. And I'm excited and looking forward to living the good life with each of you as we continue this environmental journey.
Thank you. And indeed, with the many injustices of climate change, it is only natural to want to do something about it, to want to rise up, to want to resist, and to want to create change. That is a very fundamentally human thing. I believe it is one of the things, at least for me, that gives me purpose. So rest assured that in what progress you are seeking to make, the full force of humanity and the full force of history is on your side. Thank you all so much for being here today. And I cannot wait to see you all in our sustainability group chat. And I cannot wait to see what sorts of initiatives our guests will be able to share with our participants there and what kind of things we will be able to collaboratively get up to. Thank you all so much for joining us today. If anybody would like to stay back for final comments, I'm going to be free at least until 6. But with that, I will let you all resume your busy lives. Thank you all so much for joining us. Thank you, Andrea. Thank you, Lily. Thank you, Angela. Thank you, Teresa. Thank you, Nishita. Thank you, Tanvi. Thank you, Katrine. People are leaving. Thank you, Tanvi. Thank you, Nimra.